Hello, everyone. Welcome to Betting Sports Better. I'm your host of Sports Boss. This week's show going into Week 9. We got some NFL highlights, some bad beats, some beat downs on the Michigan State game. We've got Dre Ken, Zac the Mac coming up. We're going to talk about last week's picks, this coming week's games we like. Talk about some controversy. College Playoff Committee meets tonight. We're going to give out our insight on who we think the top 4 teams are and who the best 5 teams in the NFL are. Mix it up a little bit. So stay tuned. We'll take a small break and we'll be right back with our first guest speaker of the day, Mr. Dre Ken. Thank you very much. Tune in to win. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Betting Sports Better. I'm your host of Sports Boss. Today, I have with me Mr. Dre Ken. We're going to talk a little bit about college, talk about maybe the top 5, in his opinion, my opinion, in the NFL. The College Playoff Committee is meeting tonight. We're going to get insight on what Mr. Ken thinks his top 4 teams are and what to be expected. Tonight is a deadline for NFL, the trade deadline, on and off field acquisitions and what's going on with that. So right now I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Ken and get his opinion on some games that stood out. I know that he was on the Giants-Seattle game and was a little disappointed with the outcome. Let's get more for him. What's happening, Mr. Dre?
Nothing much, Mr. Boss. What's going on today?
Another day in paradise, man.
No doubt, no doubt, no doubt. But yeah, let's talk about the Giants game versus Seattle. The Giants, they were coming off some great victories, had a lot of good momentum, looking really, really, really good. And Seattle just came in, created a lot of turnovers, 2 turnovers by the same guy, swayed this game, and I was really surprised that these guys were so careless, or that guy was so careless with the football.
Right on, right on. Yeah, see, I would have thought Giants would have snuck that game in. I'm going to tell you right now, the coach of the year should go to Pete Carroll.
Yeah.
I mean, his coaching and what he's got going on, especially with the Russell Wilson trade, and everybody just wrote them off to die. Seattle's fighting. Geno Smith's playing lights out, but Pete Carroll's probably definitely could get coach of the year, in my opinion. What's your take this week on some college? You know, the committee meets tonight, top 4 coming out. Who do you think should be in the top 4? And what's your take on that Tennessee-Georgia game?
Well, my top 4, Ohio State's going to be there, Tennessee's going to be there, Georgia's going to be there, and I got a surprise. I like TCU. Even though I don't think TCU will get the respect of the committee, I like what they're doing, and if they went out and a couple of different things happen, I feel that Tennessee may slip in the back door. Now, we got the big game this week between Tennessee and Georgia. After this weekend, we will have a better understanding and a better kind of view of what's to come in the college football world. You got Tennessee, you got Georgia, and they're both on the same side in their conference. So there you have it right there. So once we figure out who wins this game this week, I think we'll have a better understanding of what's going on.
I totally agree. And, you know, you can't overlook Bama is playing LSU Saturday night at 7 p.m. Bama's laying some heavy chalk. I mean, they're 13-point favorite. Bama wins that game. Tennessee beats Georgia. Tennessee loses to Bama in the SEC. Georgia, Bama can still go in with their record. Tennessee would fall out. Like you said, you summed it up best. I think after Tennessee, Georgia, we're going to have a more clear cut of what's happening. Another big thing this weekend, kind of uncalled for, just weird. What's your take on the Michigan State players jumping and assaulting the Michigan player after the game?
First of all, you know, we with the security part of it. I mean, anytime that you have 2 teams, one team losing, one team winning, it's chatter back and forth, there are bound to be some problems right there. Like we spoke earlier. Yeah, Harbaugh, he beefed up the security, but realistically, if these kids really wanted to do something or if they really wanted to be that aggressive, what really could the security do? Nothing. You got 6'5", 230-plus pound guys out there. If they really wanted to do something, they could bully them, those security as well. But at the end of the day, they just have to make sure that these teams do not come across each other in the beginning or the end. Tempers are flaring, people are volatile, and these are the results of it.
Well said, well said. You know, I was telling somebody yesterday, when I go to, I've seen Tyson fight, I've seen De La Hoya, you know, fortunate in my time to see some really intense boxing matches live. But you don't have the boxers come out of the same hallway in the same locker room. They're intense, they're ready to rip each other's heads off. Football is not too far from that. So lately, putting them on the same path leaving the game, entering the game, fans taking cheap shots, cameraman walking in front of Devontae Adams the other week, and then, of course, having Michigan State and Michigan, one of the big rivals, and they're at each other's throat for the Paul Bunyan, I think that's what it's called, the award, if I'm not correct, and then put them right there in the same hallway. Not cool. They need to take another look at that. One last thing, Mr. Kendrick, NFL. Who do you got as maybe the top 5 NFL teams?
All right, my top 5 teams. The Philadelphia Eagles, led by Jalen Hurts. And I will admit, I didn't believe in the guy, but the guy is playing lights out and phenomenal. They are a very young team, and they just added another pass rusher with Mr. Quinn. So it looks like the Philadelphia Eagles, if they continue to do what they do, they could be in the Super Bowl. Now, we're going to go to the Buffalo Bills. I think the addition of Von Miller has really solidified them as a total team and a true contender. We talked about them last year, but that pass rush, you have to be able to rush the pass, and I think Von Miller solidifies that defense as well as helps the offense out by getting the ball on 3 and outs and getting sacks and keeping them in good position. Number 3 and 4 and 5 kind of gets a little tricky for me, but you never can count out the Kansas City Chiefs. Patty Mahomes, he's doing this thing. I think them guys will be there as well. Now 4 and 5. We can kind of throw it up in the air, kind of go here, we can kind of go there. But I still like the Dallas Cowboys, whether you like it or not. The Cowboys, they're in a great division with the Eagles, with the Giants, where we all thought that the NFC East would be the NFC least, but they have been the NFC most. So, I like what the Cowboys are kind of doing, and I think they have a good chance to make a great run from it. And this last one, I'm going to say, it's going to be kind of a doozy, and you're going to look at me like I'm crazy and everything, but mark my words. I think the addition of McCaffrey to San Francisco changed the whole dynamic of that team. Now you got 2 Deebo Samuels and a Deebo Samuel 3.0 when you add Christian McCaffrey. The guy's phenomenal. He's lights out, and they will go as far as Christian McCaffrey goes with his health.
Nice. Well said. Well said. Mr. Kendrick, thanks for coming on the show as always. I will piggyback that. Most of the NFL picks I had down is what you shed light on. The San Fran team, I had that in with the Ravens, but I promise you, if I could show the audience right now through the cameras my book, I had San Fran, I scratched and put the Ravens. I went back and forth. But I think you're right on the money with the top 5 NFL as well as college. Remember, tune in to win, and if you're at a loss, watch the Sports Boss. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Betting Sports Better. I'm your host, the Sports Boss. Great week. We've got a lot of great stuff already happening here. I've got Zac the Mac with me today. Zac, what's happening, man?
Oh, man, it's been a great week and a lot of exciting college and football action. How are you doing, buddy?
I can't complain, man. We're going into week 9 NFL. College is winding down. The playoff committee's meeting tonight. Who's in, who's not. NFL kind of trying to wrap my head around who I think the top 5 teams are. Earlier we had Mr. Kendrick on, got his opinion on some stuff. I'm going to go right into it, Zac. What's your take on the college playoff committee tonight? Who do you think the top 4 teams are, and who do you think should get in and who might not get in?
Sure. Well, I definitely think it's going to be an SEC-heavy top 4. You've got Georgia sticking at number 1. They've earned it. They're still the top dog. Excuse me, Tennessee, number 2. They've shown up they can beat Bama on the big stage when the lights are brightest, so they absolutely deserve a spot. Number 3, I've got Michigan. They convincingly beat their rival. Also some other beatings going on in that game, but also number 4, it's going to be, I think it's Ohio State. That 4, 5, 6 is going to be highly competitive, but with the strength of schedule and how teams are winning, Ohio State's going to get that 4 spot. But look out for TCU and Clemson to make that some jockeying in these final weeks of the season.
Totally agree. TCU definitely getting overlooked. Clemson, I give them a lot of respect. Dabo's a great coach. Clemson, 2 of the teams that they did beat that were valid, have recently lost and kind of fell out of the top 20. So that might go against them. I believe, based upon the teams that are valid now is going to dictate this TCU make a push to get in. I think they're deserving right now. We'll see. I think Tennessee-Georgia game is going to have a lot of weight on what goes on depending on which team does take that game down. Zac, let me get your opinion on. I heard you say it was another beatdown. that Michigan State, Michigan aftermath in the hallway. What's your take on that?
That's rough, and there's not a lot of class from that. I recognize it's a rivalry game. Emotions are high, tensions are high, and this is the one game you got circled on your schedule that you want to win. However, with these stadium setups, it's not a good idea for having teams of this capacity be walking in the same locker rooms, facing each other down the same hallway. I feel like there could have been a better control of the ending of the game with the refs or the coaches keeping one team on the field while one team enters, but entering at the same time. And also, I would implore the coaching staff to keep a better eye on their players, to keep one player in a sea of Michigan State players getting beaten down in the outside hallway. You got to keep a better control of your teams. But it's an unclassy thing. It's very unfortunate, and I've heard those 4 main responsible players for Michigan State have been suspended, which is good. But I implore everyone to keep a better eye on our players moving forward.
Well said. Well said. I'm gonna go into switch gears completely. The Carolina Panthers Atlanta game. Quarterback, Hail Mary, throws a dart, 68 yards, I believe, straight to the end zone. Helmets come off, celebration. They enforce the penalty on the extra point. Panthers miss the extra point. Overtime, Atlanta wins. Did you see that game or watch any highlights on that, Zach?
I watched some highlights of it. I was keeping very close eye on it because I'm thinking, the Panthers, are they in tank mode? Are they just trying to finish out the season? But they're playing well. P.J. Walker is a dude. There's a reason why he's a former XFL MVP. He's an all-class talent, stellar quarterback, and props to DJ Moore for making that catch in double coverage. Darts were thrown in that, but it's in that moment, again, tensions are high, but we got to keep our helmets on. We can't do anything to hurt our team to seal that game. But I recognize the kicker still got to make the kick. That's your job, bud. You got to make the kick.
No doubt. Yeah, having Carolina Panthers money line, that was one of the bad beats. Yeah. I mean, first of all, you thought you lost the game. Then second, the Hail Mary comes in. You think you win the game. The helmets come off. He misses. Then you think, oh, no, now I might have a chance to lose the game.
Yep.
And then when the Falcons kicker made it in overtime, it was definitely written off in the loss column. The bad beats, yeah. I would think the Coastal Carolina Marshall game, if you watched that, there was a lot of times where Marshall should have had the game, going forward on 4th and 2, decided not to kick the field goals 3 different times. That was a bad beat. I think the Oak State was another one. Okay. The one that stands out to me, West Virginia. Now check this out. West Virginia catching the 6.5 for 7 points. Down 3. The game looks like it's going to win. I had West Virginia with 3.5 in game. I had them plus 7.5. They're up, the 3-point difference. TCU, 4th and 1 with 12 seconds. They literally could have just ran backwards, taken a knee. What do? They just throw it up. Receiver catches in the end zone, blows the 3.5, covers the 6.5 in a matter of 5 seconds. Definitely one of the badder beats that I've taken this year. I was on West Virginia. Did you get to see that game, Zach?
I missed that game, but I think TCU, they're going for the win. If they want to sneak into this college football playoff, they've got to beat teams convincingly. Not, unfortunately, taking knees, not looking out for our sports bettors out there, but they're going for a solid W.
Yeah, no doubt. That was another one. The Panthers, the Marshall, Coastal Carolina, the West Virginia TCU game, and then one more that stands out on the bad beats was the late game Saturday night. UCLA's playing. Halftime, they were the first half laying 7.5. I think they was right at 7. They're on the 14 or 15 yard line. They decided just muff the clock, go in, being okay, up 7. Completely busted me in the head. That sucked for me. Anyhow, moving on. Zach, what's your take on the NFL top 4 or 5 teams?
I've been saying it all season. We're waiting for the pretenders and contenders to separate themselves, and I think we finally have a good idea who of our top 3-4 teams are. Sitting at number 1, I've been on the Bills bandwagon all season, but I have to put the Eagles in the top spot. They're undefeated. They're winning convincingly, and they're taking care of business. Credit to Howie Roseman for going out and recognizing that, hey, this is a 17-game season, along with a postseason. Going out and getting Robert Quinn in a very reasonable trade to bolster that pass rush. You can never have too many pass rushers. Just throw everything in the kitchen sink at opposing offenses, but they're sitting securely in the top spot. But number 2, very closely, the Buffalo Bills. They had a tough-fought game against the Packers. They didn't play the cleanest, but undisputedly, they're still the number 2 team. Number 3, going with our man Dre Ken earlier, I completely agree. It's the Kansas City Chiefs. As long as Patrick Mahomes is stepping on that field, the team's a top 5 team. with all respect and undisputed. Number 4, I'm going Dallas Cowboys. Dak is back. He's healthy. He's looking good. That ground game is looking fantastic between Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard. That defense, stunning. Micah Parsons is just a man on that defensive line. We saw it coming out of college. He's just tearing offensive lines apart. Number 5, this is where I got a little dicey with it. The 49ers are a popular pick. So are the Vikings and the Ravens. But right now, I'm actually leaning towards the Ravens right now. With the trade of Roquan Smith, they've bolstered that defensive front 7, and they're preparing for the long haul. I was hoping they'd go out and get a receiver, and there's still time this week to go get a receiver to help Lamar Jackson out, but they're looking very well in that division with, the Browns are feisty, the Bengals are feisty, and the Steelers are kind of just dead in the water. But the Ravens are putting together another solid effort to push through the rest of this season.
Great information. Well said. Well said. Yeah, I think the Ravens have the second half of season push in them. That would definitely be my team. In fact, I had them at 5. I actually had the Bills right now sitting at 1. I had Dallas 2, Philly 3. And then, of course, snuck in the Ravens. Kansas City was down kind of on the totem pole for me. I like the fact that the Ravens have a second half push. I like the fact that Dallas is going to host Philly next week, I believe. I think Dallas is going to take them down, and I think that's where we'll start to get an idea of what's really shaking here. The Bills force to reckon with, Philly a force to reckon with, Dallas force to reckon with. The Ravens making a second half push. Kansas City, absolutely a dangerous team. For me, you can't have every single team on every single top 5. But for me right now, I will stick with it. Dallas and the Bills in the Super Bowl, hands down. That's my pick. What about you, Zach, right now?
See, I'm going Bills-Eagles, another team from the NFC East. Both these teams have shown that they have deep enough rosters, they're young enough rosters, and they're also getting healthy at the best time. Bills are getting Tre'Davious White back, so that's going to really help their secondary. But these are the 2 healthiest and deepest rosters. It's really hard, bearing some fluke throughout the rest of the year, that these 2 teams won't meet in the Super Bowl.
Nice. Well said. Anything you want to chip in right now before we wind down, Zach?
Right now, I want to throw a major credit out to TCU quarterback Max Duggan. The man's balling out. Lions, keep an eye on him for the draft. But he's showing why that he's firmly holding up this TCU team to get them in this college playoff race. And if they get in, they can cause some damage. At least promote their names and get on a bigger stage in the coming seasons. Nice.
And one last thing for the audience watching right now. You had something come across the wire earlier that kind of rubbed you the wrong way, being a Detroit Lions fan. Once you shed some light on that acquisition that took place a little while ago.
Yep. Literally, you saw my face drop, and I've gotten literally nothing but texts from friends and people close to me knowing I love my Detroit Lions. They have now traded T.J. Hawkinson, tight end, to, unfortunately, the in-division rival Minnesota Vikings. I think they traded Hawkinson. So far, they're working out the details of the trade, but right now it's Hawkinson, a 2023 fourth-round pick, and a conditional 2024 fourth-round pick for a 2023 second-round pick and a fourth-round pick. So I'm not super happy about that. I think they could have gotten more from, not a rival and from an opposing team to help out a player that can help him now. But it's a tough call. I know it's a business move. Hawkinson's contract is running out at the end of next season, so we'll see what transpires with this. But you never know. We've had great players come out of these lower round picks. Stephon Diggs was a 5th round pick. Classically, Tom Brady was a 6th round pick. So there's some hope, but we're clearly planning for the future. So we'll see how this pans out.
Nice. Zach, thanks once again. Audience, remember, tune in to win. If you're at a loss, watch the Sports Boss.